Welcome back to the truth of America's cities, where the grass isn't greener, the water might be toxic, and your neighbors might just ghost you, literally. Today, we're diving into places so rough, even Google Maps hesitates to drop a pin. Welcome to Camden, New Jersey, a city that's basically the poster child for what not to do when building a town. Now, before you get all high and mighty thinking this is just another place with a rough reputation, let me assure you, Camden takes it to a whole new level. Population-wise, it's small, around 70,000 souls, but the density of despair is impressive. The city has lost more than half its residents over the past 50 years. Yes, you heard that right. Half. People have packed up and left so fast, you'd think there was a seasonal exodus or a citywide game of musical chairs, except no one's really winning here. Economically, Camden is in a league of its own. The median household income hovers around $28,000 a year, which, fun fact, is well below the national average. And when you look at poverty rates, a shocking 35% of the population lives below the poverty line. That's not just a number, it's a lifestyle. When you walk down the streets of Camden, the statistics aren't abstract. They're glaring at you from abandoned storefronts, boarded up homes, and a sense of quiet desperation that somehow manages to feel both exhausting and unavoidable. Crime? Oh, Camden has it all. For years, it has been ranked among the most dangerous cities in America. Homicides, assaults, robberies, you name it, it's there. The violent crime rate is more than 10 times the national average, which is a statistic that makes you wonder if the local cops are actually just extras in a never-ending action movie that no one signed up for. And yet, the city has been trying. Police reform, community programs, initiatives to bring in jobs and investment, it's all there on paper. The problem, money is as scarce as affordable housing, and good luck convincing people to stick around when every statistic screams run for the hills. Speaking of housing, let's talk real estate. Camden's housing market is a bizarre mix of abandoned properties, run-down apartments, and occasional glimpses of hope in newly renovated spots that feel like exceptions to a very depressing rule. A lot of homes sit empty for years, which gives the city a ghost town vibe, only with more graffiti and the occasional stray cat that looks like it's judging your life choices. Renting or buying in Camden might be cheap compared to other parts of New Jersey, but low cost comes with a catch. Living here is basically signing up for a lifetime subscription to worry, uncertainty, and a minor existential crisis every time you step outside. But it's not all doom and gloom. Camden does have its bright spots if you squint really hard. There's the Adventure Aquarium, the Camden Waterfront, and Rutgers University Camden, which injects a little life, culture, and occasional human activity into the otherwise eerie cityscape. There's also a growing art scene, pockets of entrepreneurial energy, and some passionate residents who refuse to leave and are quietly working to turn things around. Unfortunately, their efforts are like trying to refill a bathtub with a teaspoon while someone keeps opening the drain. Admirable, but painfully slow. So why do people even talk about Camden, besides the obvious? Because it's a cautionary tale wrapped in the irony of proximity. It's right across the river from Philadelphia, just minutes from one of the country's biggest cities, and yet somehow Camden exists in a parallel universe where opportunity is optional and survival is the main event. It's a place that tests your optimism, your resilience, and occasionally your ability to laugh in the face of statistics that make you question reality. In short, Camden is a city of contradictions. It's a city that's simultaneously trying to reinvent itself while battling decades of economic decline, crime, and population loss. It's a city where hope flickers in unexpected corners, but despair seems to have a permanent lease on the streets. And if you ever find yourself here, remember, Camden isn't just a location on a map. It's a living, breathing example of what happens when a city gets left behind, when ambition is outpaced by circumstance, and when the phrase opportunity knocks might actually be sarcastic. Welcome to Camden, New Jersey. Survive it if you can, but at least watch it from the safety of your screen first. Welcome to Gary, Indiana, a city that has earned a reputation so infamous it could practically host a How Not to Run a City seminar. Founded in 1906 as a company town for U.S. Steel, Gary was supposed to be the pinnacle of industrial prosperity, smokestacks, steel mills, and an economy that promised opportunity. Fast forward a century and the steel is still there, but much of the prosperity packed up and left, taking the population and optimism with it. Today, Gary is home to roughly 65,000 residents, a far cry from its peak of over 178,000 in the 1960s. That's right, more than half the city's population simply vanished, which gives you an immediate sense of how survival here is less about thriving and more about making it through the day without tripping over boarded-up houses. Economically, Gary is a city struggling to breathe. The median household income hovers around $27,000 a year, and about 35% of residents live below the poverty line. Unemployment is high, public services are strained, and infrastructure often looks like it's been left in a time capsule from the 1970s, except without the charm. Streets are cracked, abandoned buildings dot the landscape, and some neighborhoods are so empty you'd swear they were auditioning for a post-apocalyptic movie set. The irony is that this city, once a beacon of industrial might, now carries a legacy of decline that's painfully visible from every corner. And yes, crime. Gary consistently ranks among the most dangerous cities in America. Violent crime, burglaries, and drug-related offenses are unfortunately common, and statistics tell a story that's hard to ignore. If you take the crime rate seriously, which you probably should, you'll understand why residents often speak of safety in terms of zones rather than the city as a whole. Police and community programs exist, but the challenges are deep-rooted, with systemic poverty, abandoned properties, and unemployment creating a cycle that's difficult to break. Gary is the kind of place where urban legends about danger aren't exaggerations, they're reminders that statistics can be terrifyingly accurate. Housing in Gary is a world of extremes. You'll find some charming historic homes, relics of the city's steel-era heyday, sitting mere blocks away from properties that have been abandoned for decades, slowly decaying under the elements. Real estate is cheap, incredibly cheap, but cheap comes with a warning label. Many homes are unlivable, and even the ones that are habitable often sit in neighborhoods that test your nerve and optimism daily. The city has attempted revitalization projects, but progress is slow, and sometimes the promise of a new community center or a renovated park feels more like a band-aid than a solution. Despite all this, Gary is not completely devoid of life or culture. The city gave birth to the Jackson family, arguably one of the most famous musical families in the world, proving that even in places struggling with systemic issues, talent and ambition can thrive. There's a small but passionate art scene, community initiatives fighting to restore parks, schools, and libraries, and local businesses that persevere against the odds. Unfortunately, their efforts are often overshadowed by the visible decay and ongoing social challenges, which makes Gary a city of contradictions: abandoned yet alive, dangerous yet culturally significant, failing yet stubbornly persistent. Geographically, Gary is located right on the southern shore of Lake Michigan, giving it potential for scenic waterfront development that has mostly gone untapped. The industrial legacy dominates the skyline, and the smell of steel lingers in the air, a reminder that the city's identity is still tied to its past, even as it struggles to redefine its future. This juxtaposition of natural beauty and industrial decay makes Gary uniquely striking, if not exactly Instagram-friendly. So why does Gary matter in conversations about American cities? Because it's a stark reminder of what happens when economic shifts, industrial decline, and population loss collide in one place. It's an extreme case study in urban decay, but also in resilience. People still live here. They still work, create, and raise families, proving that even in the most challenging environments, life persists. Gary isn't just a cautionary tale, it's a city fighting to survive while carrying the weight of history, statistics, and national attention that often focuses only on its negatives.
In short, Gary, Indiana is a city of extremes, contradictions, and lessons. It's industrial, abandoned, struggling, and yet somehow still alive. It's a place where history looms larger than hope, where crime statistics are a daily reality, and where every abandoned house tells a story of promise lost and resilience required. Welcome to Gary, a city that challenges your expectations, tests your imagination, and forces you to confront the realities of urban decline head-on. Survive it, study it, and maybe appreciate it from the safety of your car window before deciding to stay too long.
Welcome to Flint, Michigan, a city whose name has become almost synonymous with crisis in the United States. Once a bustling hub of the American automotive industry, Flint was built on the promise of prosperity. Cars rolled out of its factories by the thousands, jobs were plentiful, and the city grew quickly, attracting families from all over looking to chase the American dream. Fast forward to today, and Flint tells a very different story, a story of decline, mismanagement, and resilience that borders on stubbornness. The city proper has roughly 80,000 residents, down from its peak of over 200,000 in the 1960s. That's right, more than half of Flint's population has left, a human exodus that mirrors the collapse of the industries that once defined it. Walking through the streets today, the abandoned houses and empty lots are constant reminders that prosperity is a fragile illusion. Economically, Flint struggles on multiple fronts. The median household income hovers around $27,000 a year, and over 40% of residents live below the poverty line. Jobs are scarce, public services stretched thin, and opportunities limited, leaving many residents caught in a cycle that's difficult to break. The collapse of the auto industry left a gaping hole, and while there have been attempts at revitalization, progress is slow and often overshadowed by the city's ongoing challenges. Flint is one of those cities where the phrase post-industrial struggle isn't a buzzword. It's the daily reality, visible in every shuttered storefront, every pothole, and every overgrown yard. And then there's the issue that brought Flint national and international attention, the water crisis. In 2014, the city switched its water source to the Flint River, a decision that exposed residents to lead contamination and a host of public health issues. This was not just a failure of infrastructure, but a catastrophic failure of governance. For years, families were drinking water that was literally toxic, while officials denied the problem and residents fought to be heard. The crisis affected thousands of children and adults, and its legacy lingers today, not just in the water, but in the trust, or lack thereof, between citizens and the institutions meant to protect them. Humor here feels inappropriate, because this isn't just a statistic, it's a lived reality that still impacts people daily. Crime is another challenge Flint continues to grapple with. Violent crime rates are high, with homicides, assaults, and robberies occurring at rates far above the national average. While not every neighborhood is dangerous, the perception of risk affects life decisions, from where people send their kids to school to whether anyone feels safe walking outside after dark. Police initiatives and community programs exist, but they are often overwhelmed by systemic issues like poverty, unemployment, and abandoned infrastructure. Flint's streets tell the story of struggle in ways that numbers alone can't fully convey. Housing in Flint is a mix of extremes. Abandoned properties are common, with entire blocks sometimes deserted, leaving only the occasional street lamp flickering over cracked sidewalks. Affordable housing is available, but affordability often comes with caveats: high crime, neglected streets, and the constant reminder of a city still fighting to survive. Some areas have seen renovation and community efforts, but the city as a whole bears the scars of decades of economic decline, and each house, empty or occupied, tells part of that story. Yet, Flint is not without heart. Residents fight to improve schools, parks, and neighborhoods. Community programs, urban gardens, and local initiatives show that hope, no matter how small, persists. The city has a proud cultural history,
home to legendary musicians, passionate sports fans, and a population that refuses to be written off entirely. These pockets of resilience create contradictions, a city struggling to survive, yet determined to maintain its identity, culture, and dignity against all odds. So, why Flint? Because it is both a cautionary tale and a testament to endurance. It's a place where systemic failure, economic collapse, and environmental disaster collide, but where community spirit still flickers. Flint reminds us that cities are living entities, capable of spectacular success and tragic decline, and that the people within them are often the most remarkable part of the story. In short, Flint, Michigan is a city of extremes, contradictions, and resilience. It's industrial, challenged, and scarred, yet still alive. It's a place that tests patience, optimism, and sometimes the limits of disbelief, but also shows that human endurance can persist even when systems fail. Welcome to Flint, a city that will make you cringe, reflect, and maybe even admire the people who refuse to let it die, one block, one family, and one small victory at a time.
Welcome to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, a small city with a big reputation, or at least a reputation for being a place that tests your patience, optimism, and occasionally your common sense. Located along the Arkansas River, Pine Bluff was once a thriving hub for agriculture and trade, with a bustling economy built on cotton, timber, and manufacturing. Fast forward to today, and the picture is, well, a bit bleaker. The city has seen a dramatic population decline over the past several decades. Once home to over 50,000 residents, Pine Bluff now has roughly 40,000, meaning a significant portion of its people decided that life here wasn't exactly the dream they signed up for. Walk down the streets and you can see why. Empty storefronts, abandoned homes, and neighborhoods that seem to be frozen in a state of perpetual sigh. Economically, Pine Bluff struggles in ways that make headlines for all the wrong reasons. The median household income is around $34,000 a year, and approximately 30% of the population lives below the poverty line. Unemployment fluctuates higher than the national average, and jobs that remain are often low-paying or unstable. The city has made attempts at revitalization, new businesses, local initiatives, and community programs, but these are like applying a Band-Aid to a problem that deserves surgery. Poverty is pervasive, and the statistics are more than numbers. They're realities that residents confront every single day. Crime is another challenge. Pine Bluff has one of the higher violent crime rates in Arkansas, with assaults, robberies, and occasional homicides making the news far too often. While the city is not uniformly dangerous, certain neighborhoods are best approached with caution, and residents often talk in terms of zones rather than the city as a whole. Police and community initiatives exist, but limited resources and systemic issues make crime a stubborn problem. In Pine Bluff, safety is something you negotiate daily, not a guarantee. Housing in Pine Bluff is a tale of contrasts. You'll find quaint historic homes, some modest suburban neighborhoods, and then whole blocks that look abandoned and forgotten. The housing market is cheap, which sounds great until you factor in crime rates, infrastructure issues, and neighborhoods that sometimes feel deserted. Renovation projects exist, but progress is slow, and the overall aesthetic of the city carries the weight of decades of economic decline. Walking through Pine Bluff, you see houses that are lived in, houses that are boarded up, and houses that are reminders of a past era when the city thrived. And yet, Pine Bluff is not without heart or culture. The city has historically rich institutions, from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff to local museums and parks that hint at what the city once was and could be. Residents maintain traditions, community programs, and local businesses, proving that even in a struggling city, resilience exists. There's a quiet charm to some of the neighborhoods, particularly near the riverfront, and a sense of community that outsiders might miss if they only focus on statistics. So why talk about Pine Bluff? Because it's a microcosm of small city America facing decline, economic challenges, population loss, and crime, but still refusing to disappear entirely.
It's a place where hope and struggle coexist, where every abandoned building tells a story of opportunity lost, and where the people who remain demonstrate resilience in ways that often go unnoticed. Pine Bluff is not glamorous, it's not trendy, and it certainly isn't perfect, but it is real. It's a city that challenges expectations, tests endurance, and forces you to see beyond the surface of headlines and statistics. In short, Pine Bluff, Arkansas is a city of contradictions, struggling yet surviving, abandoned yet alive, challenging yet stubbornly persistent. It's a place where history, economics, and social realities collide, creating a landscape that's hard to ignore and impossible to forget. Welcome to Pine Bluff, a city that will make you question optimism, appreciate resilience, and maybe even wonder how anyone still calls it home. Survive it, study it, and observe it carefully, because this is small-town America with a big personality and an even bigger attitude toward reality.
So there you have it. 6 cities that prove living in America can be an adventure. Sometimes terrifying, sometimes depressing, and occasionally inspiring if you squint really hard. From Camden to Pine Bluff, Flint to Gary, Detroit to St. Louis, these places show what happens when history, economics, and human stubbornness collide in ways you won't see on a postcard. Remember, this isn't just a tour of crime stats or poverty rates, it's a reality check. Some of these cities are struggling, some are surviving, and all of them have stories that demand attention. So the next time someone tells you small town life is peaceful or the American dream is guaranteed, just show them this video and let the statistics do the talking. And if you think you can handle more brutal truths about where people live in America, stick around. Trust me, the next episode will make even these cities look tame, and that's saying something. Subscribe, like, and share. If you survived this tour, you deserve a medal. See you next time.